Hi, this is Dave. Today we're going to replace the kitchen faucet in our sink. We chose this KOHLER brand. We like it because it's a high faucet, so easier to get pots and pans into it. It also has the electronic sensor here so that we can turn it off and on without actually touching it. Here's the new faucet. So the first thing is we're going to take it, before we take out the old faucet, is we have to turn off the water. So we're going to turn off the cold water, and then there's also another valve back here for our reverse osmosis system. Turn that off. And then over here is the hot water. And we turn that off also. There, now all the water's off. Now we can start disconnecting the hoses. The next thing is to open up the water faucet and relieve any pressure. So it's open, so that's good. We can turn it back off. Now we go underneath. So now we're going to loosen the hot water line. You want to hold the valve.
Oh, then where? Oh, okay, better. Does it matter if you do hot water first or?
No, in our case, it's just easier to get to the cold water once the hot water's out, but
Okay.
It doesn't really matter. And a little bucket, yeah. There.
Okay.
The hot water's loose. Now we can do the cold water. We can start to release the cold water. So we're going to put a wrench on the bottom to hold the things from moving, and then we can use the wrench on the top to loosen the hose from the faucet. And there. Then the old faucet line is released. The next step is to release the hose that goes up for the sprayer. So there's a little button, little black button here you push, and then you can pull the hose loose. So the next thing is there's this little black washer here that we have to take off. And then the next thing is this nut way up here we have to loosen. Now that we've disconnected the hose for the sprayer, we're going to take this weight off. So you can, this one you can just slide off. Sometimes they're clamped on there and you have to take the clamp apart. Now we can go up top. Now we can pull the strainer out and pull the hose all the way up. Get that out of the way. I'll just set it here for now. We're going to use a plumber's wrench because it's a very tight corner up here, and we're going to use it to loosen this nut. Once the nut is loose, and we'll spin by hand, then we can just take it off by hand.
So this is to loosen the whole thing.
Yep, this will make it so the whole thing can come out. Then take the bracket off. Then we can take it out from the top. Take the old faucet, pull it out through the hole. The next thing is to clean this spot. We're going to use a scraper. This is a gasket scraper that has a razor blade, and we're just going to scrape off the old stuff. Want it clean so the new faucet seals well, plus now's the time to get the whole area clean because you can get to it easy. So it looks nice when it's done. The next part is to install the new faucet. So we'll pull out the new faucet. It has hoses attached, and it also has an electrical wire for the sensor. You can pull off this cardboard tube. And then we'll also package of hardware here. So the next thing is to install the little washer and seal. So you slide it over the hose. You want to make sure the rubber seal is pointed towards the bottom. Make sure it goes over all the wires and hoses. It goes all the way up on the bottom of the sink. And there's little notches to make sure it's turned the right way. So you want to make sure you have that on. And then this is the nut that'll tighten on here eventually. You want to make sure the screws are out all the way before you tighten it on. That way when you tighten it up on this, so you'll tighten it up on the bottom of the sink with these on here, and then once it gets close, then you can tighten the screws to make it nice and tight. So now we can assemble. So we can feed the hoses and the wire through the sinkhole. And it mounts like this with the faucet on the side and the spray nozzle there. Now we can go underneath. Now we can slide the washers and then the nut onto the hoses, and you want to go over all the hoses and wires. So now we can tighten the nut to the bottom of the faucet.
Now come up here and make sure the faucet is straight. And what are you doing down there? Tighten it.
Yep, I'm going to tighten the little screws that are on the side of the nut.
Okay. But what if you have only one person?
It's a little tricky. Probably take a few trips up and down. But
Okay. If you have one person, you take a few trips up and down.
so now we're going to take the cold water hose, which it has a tag on it that says cold. We're going to hook it back up here. We want to make sure that the hose doesn't have any kinks in it, so the water flows freely. So we tighten it by hand. Now we can get the wrenches. I want to put one wrench on this side to keep it from spinning, and a wrench up here. To tighten this one. Now we can hook up the hot water. Same thing. We want to make sure the hose isn't kinked, and then tighten it onto the fitting. This is the valve that controls the water off and on from the sensor. So that it plugs into the faucet up there, and then there's a wire here that connects into the cable coming down from the faucet for the sensor. And there's another cable here that goes over to a battery pack that we'll mount later. So now the first thing is to go way up here, and you can push this valve onto the bottom of the pipe on the bottom of the faucet, and you want to go till you hear it click. Give a little pull to make sure it's tight. And then we hook up the wire coming out of the top of the valve to the sensor wire that's coming from the faucet. So you push it together.
Okay.
And then there's a little nut that you twist to make it nice and tight so it doesn't fall off. Now we can route this hose for the spray nozzle. We want to make sure that it's routed away from everything so it doesn't catch on anything. And then when you got it in position, you can push it on the bottom of the valve until it clicks and give it a little pull to make sure it's seated. Now we can hook the weight up to the sprayer hose. It has a little clip on the side to release it so it opens up, and it wraps around the hose. You want it to be about 2 to 3 inches above where the bottom of the loop is when the sprayer is all the way in the faucet. And you just wrap it around. And clip it. This weight is what makes it so when you pull the faucet out and then want to put it back in, the weight will help pull it back in, so it'll keep it up in there. To power the sensor, you need, they give you this battery pack. They use 6 AA batteries. You can also buy a AC adapter as an accessory to plug it in. Then you don't need to worry about the batteries. We need to pick a location to mount the battery pack where the wire will reach the valve and still be accessible so you can change the batteries later. So they provide a screw that we've put on the side of the cabinet over here, and it just hooks over, and then you can tighten it up so it doesn't fall off. Now we can connect the battery pack to the valve. They connect, and then they just twist or push together until it snaps. And make sure the wire's routed out of the way. Now we can turn the water on. And we can go up top and test it. Now we're ready to test the faucet. First thing is to make sure that the valve is open all the way, and then you can wave your hand under and it'll turn off and on. Hot water is when you push the handle away from you. Cold water is when you pull it towards you, so you can adjust the temperature. Now we can try the sprayer. You can turn it on, and pull it out. And there's a button you push, and it sprays. This one sprays a narrow spray to help clean the dishes. And then you can push the button again to take it back.
Okay.
And wave to turn it off.
Yeah, if you don't, remember to keep the handle on the on position, this thing doesn't work. So, and yeah, something to get used to.
Yep, you have to make sure it stays on.
Okay. What if we run out of battery?
So if you run out of battery, on the side of the white valve underneath there is a little black knob. You can turn.
Okay, can you show us? Okay.
On the water valve underneath here, there's this black knob. You can turn this a 1/4 turn, like the instructions say here, and then it'll work only in manual. It doesn't need the sensor anymore. And then you can use the valve on the side up top like you normally would. This is what you would do when the battery goes dead and you don't have something to replace it.
Cool.
Now we've got the faucet ready. It's working. It looks very good. So we're ready to go. Thank you for watching.